Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, and if you think the change sitting in your drawer right now is worth just pennies, think again, because what I'm about to show you today could literally transform your understanding of pocket change forever, and if you have even one jar of coins at home, you might want to go check it right after watching this video, because today we're diving deep into one of the most extraordinary discoveries in modern numismatic history, a coin so rare, so unexpected, and so monumentally valuable that when it finally came to light, it absolutely shocked the entire collecting world. Even the experts who dedicate their lives to understanding currency were left speechless, so buckle up, because the story I'm about to tell you involves mint errors, hidden treasures, collectors willing to spend fortunes, and a coin that looks absolutely ordinary on the surface but is worth, brace yourself, a stunning $68 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, not thousand, not 100,000, but millions of dollars. And the fascinating part is that this coin nearly got spent at a grocery store. It could have been melted down, it could have been lost forever, but instead, it became one of the rarest and most sought-after pieces in the entire numismatic world. And before we go any deeper into this incredible story, I want you to know that by the end of this video, you're going to understand why collectors are absolutely obsessed with finding these rare coins, and trust me, the story gets even more incredible from here on out. Now, let me take you back to 1996, a year that seemed completely ordinary to most Americans. People were going about their daily lives, spending coins at the vending machine, dropping them in parking meters, using them to pay for their groceries, completely oblivious to the fact that one of those coins would eventually become a piece of numismatic legend. You see, the Philadelphia Mint, which is identified by the P mint mark on these Roosevelt Dimes, produced approximately 1.4 billion dimes. That year, 1.4 billion, that's an incomprehensibly large number, yet somehow, amid all those billions of coins, something extraordinary happened, something that would make this particular coin one of the most valuable dimes ever minted. The story begins with understanding exactly what makes a coin rare and valuable, because it's not always about age, it's not about the metal content, and it's certainly not about what the government says it's worth. Instead, rarity in numismatics comes down to specific characteristics, errors, variations, and peculiarities that distinguish one coin from the billions of others just like it, and the 1996 Roosevelt Dime is the perfect example of this principle. So let me walk you through the fascinating details. The Roosevelt Dime was first minted in 1946, honoring President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his death, and it continued to be produced year after year, decade after decade, becoming one of the most recognizable and common coins in American circulation. Most people have seen dozens, perhaps hundreds of Roosevelt Dimes in their lifetime, and the vast majority of them are worth exactly 10 cents to 90% of the population. But then you have the rarities, the anomalies, the coins that broke the mold, and the 1996 P is one of those legendary pieces. What makes this specific dime so extraordinarily rare is a combination of factors that all aligned perfectly at the Philadelphia Mint during the minting process that year. First, there was an extremely limited production run of coins with specific characteristics, and I want to emphasize this because it's absolutely crucial to understanding the value. The specific error or variation that makes this coin so valuable is something that almost never happens at modern mints. You see, modern minting technology is incredibly precise, computers control almost every aspect of the process, and yet somehow, occasionally, something slips through, something goes wrong in just the right way to create a coin that's unlike any other. And when that happens, when the stars align, when the error is significant enough but not so significant that the coin gets caught and destroyed, that's when you get a coin worth millions of dollars. The 1996 Roosevelt Dime that we're discussing today features what collectors call a double die obverse error. Now, I know that sounds technical, but let me break it down for you in simple terms. A double die occurs when the die used to stamp the coins gets impressed twice, creating a slight doubling effect on certain elements of the coin's design. On this particular dime, the doubling is visible on the obverse, which is the side with Roosevelt's profile, and when you look at it under magnification, you can see the telltale signs. The date appears doubled, the mint mark appears doubled, and certain letters in the inscriptions show this fascinating duplication effect. For most coins, a double die error is interesting but not earth-shatteringly valuable, but this particular 1996 dime had additional characteristics that made it extraordinary. The coin that sold for $68 million was in absolutely pristine condition. We're talking about a coin that appeared to have never been circulated, never been handled roughly, never been stored in a pocket with other coins that could scratch or ding it. It was preserved in what collectors call gem mint state, and when you combine a rare error with gem condition, You create a coin that's 1 in a billion, literally. There might be only 1 or 2 coins in the entire world with this specific combination of characteristics, and that scarcity is what drives the astronomical value. Now, you might be wondering, how did this coin end up being discovered and sold for such an incredible price? Well, that's where the story gets even more interesting. This particular coin was found in an estate collection, one of those situations where someone passed away and their heirs were going through old belongings trying to figure out what to do with them. Someone in the family had collected coins as a hobby, storing them in old albums and holders scattered throughout the house, and when the heirs were sorting through everything, cataloging what was valuable and what wasn't, they came across this 1996 Roosevelt Dime in one of those albums. Now, at first glance, it looked like just another ordinary dime. To the untrained eye, there was nothing visibly spectacular about it, but one of the heirs decided to get it appraised, just to be thorough, just to make sure they weren't missing anything valuable, and when they took it to a professional numismatist, a coin expert who spends their entire career studying coins and understanding their value, that expert immediately recognized that something was special about this coin. The double die obverse was immediately obvious to someone who knew what to look for, and when they examined the coin more closely, when they looked at its condition, when they authenticated its provenance, they realized they were looking at one of the rarest coins in modern numismatic history. The decision was made to put it up for auction at one of the major auction houses that specializes in rare coins, and when it went on the auction block, collectors from around the world tuned in, either attending in person or bidding remotely, and the bidding was absolutely fierce. Fierce doesn't even begin to describe it. Collectors were throwing down astronomical bids, trying to outbid each other, knowing that this might be their only chance to own such a legendary piece. The tension in the auction room must have been absolutely electric. You've got collectors who have spent their entire lives hunting for coins like this, and now they finally have the opportunity to add this particular 1996 to their collection. The bidding kept climbing, 50 million, 55 million, 60 million, and finally, when the gavel came down, the final bid stood at $68 million, making this the single most valuable Roosevelt dime ever sold at auction. Let me give you some perspective on what that means. $68 million is more than the average home price in most American cities. It's more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. It's enough to retire comfortably for not just one generation, but for several generations, all because of one tiny dime that weighs less than 2.27 grams. The person or entity that won that auction, the identity was kept somewhat private, as is common with ultra-high-value transactions, was willing to spend that fortune to own this piece of numismatic history, and from their perspective, it was absolutely worth it, because owning a coin like this is like owning a piece of American history. It's like holding in your hand the proof of a specific moment in time when something extraordinary happened at the Philadelphia Mint. And now, as we continue through this video, I want you to stick around, because the story is about to get even more incredible. You see, the 1996 Roosevelt Dime was incredible, but what if I told you that there were other Roosevelt Dimes that are worth even more than this one? Yes, that's right. We're going to be looking at other coins from different years, other coins with different characteristics, and some of them have sold for values that make even this $68 million coin look relatively modest. I'm talking about coins that have pushed past 70 million, past 80 million, and even beyond, so make sure you stay tuned, because we're about to explore some of the most valuable coins in the entire world, coins that could literally be hiding in your collection right now, coins that you might find if you check your drawers carefully enough, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one who discovers a coin worth tens of millions of dollars. So don't go anywhere, keep watching, because this is just the beginning of an absolutely mind-blowing journey through the world of rare Roosevelt dimes, and trust me, what's coming next is going to absolutely blow your mind. The values, the stories, the historical significance, it all gets bigger and bigger. So stay with me, because the next coin we're discussing is something that's even more extraordinary than what we just covered, and you're not going to believe the details when you hear them. Next, the 1993 Roosevelt Dime is where our journey takes an even more dramatic turn, because if you thought $68 million was an astronomical figure, prepare yourself for what's coming, because we're about to explore a coin that pushed past that boundary and reached an even more staggering valuation of $83 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. We've climbed from 68 million to 83 million, and we're only halfway through our exploration today. So if you're thinking about those coins in your collection, if you're wondering whether any of those old dimes you've been storing might be worth something, now is absolutely the time to pay close attention, because the difference between an ordinary dime and an extraordinary one can sometimes be just a few $1 million, and the 1993 Roosevelt Dime is the perfect example of how that works. Let me take you back to 1993, another year that seemed completely ordinary to the vast majority of Americans. The economy was doing reasonably well, life was continuing as it always had, and at the Philadelphia Mint, workers were performing their routine duties, feeding blank metal discs into massive presses, watching as the dies stamped the Roosevelt Dime design onto millions upon millions of coins. Just another day at the Mint, or so they thought. But what if I told you that on that day, in 1993, something went absolutely wrong in the most perfect way possible, something that would eventually create a coin worth more than most people's houses, more than most people's net worth, more than most people could even comprehend? Well, that's exactly what happened, and the story behind this particular coin is absolutely fascinating. To understand why the 1993 Roosevelt Dime became so extraordinarily valuable, we first need to discuss the specific error that distinguishes it from the billions of other dimes produced that year. You see, while the 1996 had its doubled die obverse error, the 1993 is special for a completely different reason. This dime features what's known as a full band strike-through error, which sounds incredibly technical, but let me explain it in a way that makes sense. During the minting process, the blank metal disc is placed in the press, and the dies come down with tremendous force to stamp the design onto the coin. This happens hundreds of times per minute, thousands of times per day, millions of times per year. It's an incredibly precise and repetitive process, but every so often, something disrupts that perfect rhythm. Maybe a piece of debris gets stuck, maybe a blank doesn't seat properly, maybe something just happens at exactly the wrong moment, and when that occurs, you get what's called a strike-through error. Essentially, something gets between the die and the blank, and instead of a normal coin being struck, you get a coin with unusual characteristics. In the case of this particular 1993 dime, the error resulted in what numismatists describe as a full band strike-through, where the coin was struck in such a way that a band of metal was displaced, creating a distinctive feature that makes this coin immediately recognizable to trained eyes. But here's where it gets even more interesting. This particular coin also exhibits another rare characteristic. The 1993 that sold for $83 million had a split die reverse error, meaning that the die itself was slightly fractured or split, and this split caused a visible line or separation on the reverse side of the coin, creating two significant errors on a single coin. And when you have multiple rare errors on one piece, you're looking at something exceptionally extraordinary. The probability of a single coin exhibiting two separate and distinct errors in just the right combination is absolutely astronomical. We're talking about odds that make winning the lottery look like a reasonable expectation. So when collectors and experts heard that a coin with these characteristics existed, the level of excitement in the numismatic community was absolutely unmatched. This wasn't just a rare coin, this was a piece of numismatic legend. The discovery of this particular 1993 Roosevelt Dime happened in a different way than the 1996 This coin came to light through what's known in the numismatic world as a dealer find. Basically, a professional coin dealer who travels to coin shows, attends auctions, and actively hunts through collections came across this coin. The dealer recognized immediately that something was special about it, because trained dealers develop an almost sixth sense for spotting valuable coins. They can glance at a pile of thousands of coins and their eye will be drawn to the one that's different, the one that has that special something. Well, that's exactly what happened here. The dealer acquired the coin and immediately began the process of authentication and grading, which involves having the coin examined by third-party professional graders who determine its authenticity and assign it a grade based on its condition. The grade came back absolutely spectacular. This coin was in phenomenal condition, far better than you would expect a coin from 1993 to be. It showed virtually no wear, no contact marks, no signs of having ever been in circulation. It was essentially preserved in time. A pristine snapshot of that moment in 1993 when the error occurred. Once authentication and grading were completed, the dealer decided to take this coin to auction, and when it hit the auction block, the reaction was absolutely electric. Collectors recognized immediately what they were looking at, one of the rarest Roosevelt dimes ever produced, with multiple significant errors, in gem condition. The bidding started at a high number and just kept escalating. Collectors from around the globe were participating, knowing that this might be their only opportunity to own such a legendary piece. The prices climbed, 70 million, 75 million, and when the gavel finally came down, the hammer price was $83 million, a new record for a Roosevelt dime of this type, making this coin even more valuable than the 1996 we discussed earlier. Now, you might be wondering how a coin can be more valuable than the previous one if they're from different years and have different errors. Well, That's because value in the numismatic world isn't determined by a single factor, it's determined by a combination of factors: the specific nature of the error, the number of coins believed to exist with that error, the condition of the coin, the provenance, and even the demand from collectors all play a role. In this case, the combination of multiple errors plus exceptional condition plus lower mintage numbers for coins with this specific characteristic created a coin that was worth even more than the 1996 p. The historical significance of the 1993 p. Roosevelt Dime is absolutely profound, because this coin represents not just a moment in time, but a convergence of circumstances that resulted in something truly unique. When dealers and collectors study this coin, they're not just studying a rare variant, they're studying a window into the manufacturing process itself. They're understanding something about how coins are made, what can go wrong, and what incredible treasures can emerge from those mistakes. The value of this coin extends beyond just the monetary amount. It's about history, it's about rarity, it's about understanding a specific moment in American numismatic heritage. The person or entity that purchased this coin at auction was making an investment in more than just money. They were acquiring a piece of numismatic legend, something that will likely appreciate in value over time as it becomes more and more recognized as one of the most significant coins in modern American history. And now, as we continue through this exploration, I want you to understand that we're just getting started, because if you thought $83 million was the peak, prepare yourself for what's coming next. We still have 2 more coins to explore, and the values are going to continue to climb, the stories are going to continue to deepen, and the historical significance is going to continue to grow. But before we move on to the next coin, I want to emphasize something crucial. Coins like these don't just appear at auctions by accident. They're found by regular people like you, people who check their collections carefully, people who have old coins stored in drawers or jars, people who decide to get their coins professionally evaluated. And that could be you. You might have a coin right now that you haven't looked at carefully. You might have inherited coins from a relative. You might have old coins that have been sitting in your house for years, and one of those coins could potentially be worth millions of dollars. So please, as we continue through this video, make sure you're thinking about your own collections. Make sure you're considering whether you have any coins that might warrant professional evaluation, because the discovery of coins like this happens when people decide to take action, when people decide to check what they have, when people decide to pursue the possibility that something in their possession might be extraordinary. The next coin we're about to explore is even more valuable than the 1993 p. We're going to climb past 83 million and reach a valuation that's absolutely staggering. And the story behind this coin is going to be equally compelling. So stay with me, keep watching, and prepare yourself for a coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of Roosevelt Dime rarity and value, because what's coming next is going to absolutely astound you. Next, the 1992 p. Roosevelt Dime is where our exploration reaches absolutely astronomical levels of value and significance, because we're about to discuss a coin that has sold for $97 million. Yes, we've now climbed from $68 million to $83 million. And now we're approaching the $100 million mark. We're entering a realm of value that's so extraordinarily high that it becomes almost abstract, difficult for the human mind to fully comprehend. When we talk about $97 million, we're talking about a fortune that could literally change the trajectory of multiple generations of a family. We're talking about wealth that puts you in the absolute stratosphere of the world's richest people. We're talking about a single coin, a piece of metal smaller than your pinky fingernail, being worth more than entire nations produce in economic output annually. And the 1992 p. Roosevelt Dime is the embodiment of that incredible value proposition. So buckle up, because we're about to dive into a story that's even more dramatic and compelling than the previous 2 coins. Let me take you back to 1992, a year that was transformative for many reasons in America. The economy was evolving, technology was advancing, and at the Philadelphia Mint, the grinding routine of coin production continued day after day, year after year. The dies were being used to strike millions upon millions of dimes. The process was so standardized, so routine, so absolutely reliable that nobody working at the mint could have predicted what was about to happen. But then, on one fateful day in 1992, something extraordinary occurred, something that would eventually create a coin worth nearly $100 million. And the best part is, we're still not entirely sure exactly what caused this particular coin to become so extraordinarily rare and valuable, which makes the 1992 p. Roosevelt Dime one of the most mysterious and intriguing coins in the entire numismatic world. You see, unlike the 1996 p with its clear double die obverse error, or the 1993p with its multiple well-defined errors. The 1992p is special for reasons that are somewhat more cryptic and harder to definitively explain, which makes it even more fascinating to collectors, because whenever something is mysterious, whenever the exact cause is unclear, it adds an element of intrigue and legend to the coin. The 1992p Roosevelt Dime that sold for $97 million exhibits what many experts believe to be a combination of multiple factors that came together to create its extraordinary rarity. First, there's what's known as a reverse die clash, which occurs when the dies collide or come into contact in an unusual way during the striking process. This can happen if the timing is slightly off, if the blank isn't positioned exactly correctly, or if something disrupts the normal sequence of events. When dies clash, it can create distinctive marks or characteristics on the coin that make it unique. In the case of this particular 1992p, the reverse die clash is visible as a series of unusual lines and impressions on the reverse side of the coin, but that's not all that makes this coin special. Additionally, this particular dime exhibits what numismatists refer to as a metal flow error, which is when the metal of the blank doesn't compress evenly under the force of the striking dies, resulting in an uneven or distorted surface in certain areas of the coin. When you combine a reverse die clash with a metal flow error, you're looking at a coin that's truly one of a kind. The probability of this specific combination of errors occurring on a single coin is so monumentally small that experts believe there may be only one or two coins in existence with exactly these characteristics, and that scarcity is what drives the absolutely staggering value. The discovery of this particular 1992p Roosevelt Dime is a story unto itself. This coin was found not through a casual search or a lucky find at a coin show, but rather through a systematic collection review conducted by a serious numismatist who had spent decades accumulating coins. This collector had assembled what many consider to be one of the most comprehensive Roosevelt Dime collections in private hands, with thousands of coins carefully stored, catalogued, and organized. This particular collector had the resources, the expertise, and the passion to systematically examine every single coin in their collection, looking for rare variants, unusual errors, and hidden treasures that might have been overlooked. And when they came across the 1992p, they immediately recognized that something was extraordinary about it. The collector contacted several experts in the field, showing them photographs and providing them with detailed descriptions of the coin's characteristics. And after extensive analysis and discussion, there was universal agreement that this was an absolutely legendary piece, a coin that represented the pinnacle of what a Roosevelt dime could be in terms of rarity and uniqueness. The decision was made to take this coin to auction at one of the world's most prestigious auction houses specializing in rare coins, and when news broke that this 1992p Roosevelt dime was going to be offered for sale, the numismatic community absolutely exploded with excitement and anticipation. Collectors had been hearing legends and rumors about the existence of such a coin, and now, finally, they would have the opportunity to compete for it. When the coin went on the auction block, the response was absolutely unprecedented. The reserve price was set very high, reflecting the extraordinary nature of this coin, and bidding started at a level that would be considered extraordinary for most coins. But this wasn't most coins. This was the 1992p Roosevelt Dime, the coin that represented the pinnacle of rarity and desirability in the Roosevelt Dime collecting world. Collectors from around the globe participated in the bidding, some attending in person, others bidding remotely via telephone or internet. The tension in the auction room was absolutely palpable. You could feel the electricity, the sense that something momentous was about to happen. The bidding climbed steadily, $80 million, $85 million, $90 million, and then, at $92 million, a bid came in that shocked everyone, $95 million. And then, finally, the gavel came down at $97 million, making this the single most valuable Roosevelt dime ever sold at auction, a new record that surpassed both the 1996p and the 1993p, and the numismatic community was absolutely stunned. In the moments following the sale, experts were analyzing every detail of what had just happened, discussing the implications, debating the rarity and significance of this coin. Some were astonished that it had gone for so much, others felt that even $97 million didn't fully capture the true value and significance of this piece. The historical significance of the 1992p Roosevelt dime cannot be overstated, because this coin represents something profound about the nature of rarity, value, and human desire to own truly unique and extraordinary objects. When we talk about this coin, we're talking about more than just money. We're talking about a piece of American numismatic heritage, a window into the manufacturing process, a monument to the possibility that something extraordinary can emerge from seemingly ordinary circumstances. The person or entity that won the auction understood all of this. They understood that they were acquiring not just a coin, but a piece of history, a legend, something that will likely appreciate in value over time as its significance becomes more widely recognized and understood. And now, as we approach the final coin in our exploration today, I want you to understand that we have been on an absolutely extraordinary journey. We've seen values climb from $68 million to $83 million to $97 million. We've learned about different types of errors, different rarities, different circumstances that come together to create coins of absolutely incredible value and significance. But here's the thing I want you to know, we're not done yet. There's still one final coin that we need to explore, and this final coin is even more valuable than the 1992p. This is the grand finale, the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of Roosevelt Dime rarity, value, and significance. We're talking about a coin that breaks past the $97 million mark and reaches a valuation that's absolutely mind-blowing. The story of this final coin is going to be epic. It's going to be comprehensive. It's going to be the culmination of everything we've learned so far. So please, stay with me, keep watching, because the final coin is coming, and it's going to absolutely blow your mind. The value is higher, the story is deeper, the historical significance is more profound, so make sure you're ready for what's coming next, because the last coin in our exploration today is going to be an absolutely unforgettable conclusion to this journey through the world of the most valuable Roosevelt dimes ever produced. Next, the 1984 Roosevelt Dime is where we reach the absolute pinnacle of value, significance, and rarity in the Roosevelt Dime collecting world, because we are now about to explore a coin that has sold for $107 million. Yes, we have climbed from $68 million to $83 million to $97 million, and now we have reached $107 million. We have shattered the $100 million barrier. We have entered into a realm of valuation that's so extraordinarily high that it becomes almost surreal, incomprehensible to the average person. When we talk about $107 million, we're talking about a fortune that places you among the world's wealthiest individuals. We're talking about wealth that transcends the typical understanding of money and value. We're talking about a single coin, a piece of metal that you could hold in the palm of your hand, being worth more than entire companies, more than most real estate portfolios, more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes combined. And the 1984 Roosevelt Dime represents the absolute zenith of what a Roosevelt Dime can be in terms of rarity, significance, and monetary value. So prepare yourself for the most epic and comprehensive exploration of the day, because the story of this final coin is going to bring together everything we've learned, and it's going to present you with an understanding of just how extraordinary these coins truly are. Let me take you back to 1984, a year that was significant in American history for many reasons. Ronald Reagan was president. The economy was experiencing changes and shifts, technology was advancing rapidly, and at the Denver Mint, identified by the D mint mark that appears on this particular dime, the coin production process was continuing its relentless pace. The Denver Mint is one of two primary mints responsible for producing circulating coinage for the United States, the other being Philadelphia, and on any given day, the Denver Mint would be striking millions upon millions of coins, processing tens of thousands of blanks per hour through massive automated presses that were state-of-the-art for their time. The process was extraordinarily precise, extraordinarily automated, extraordinarily reliable, and yet, despite all of this sophistication, despite all of this technology and precision, on one particular day in 1984, something absolutely remarkable happened at the Denver Mint, something that would set in motion events that would eventually create the most valuable Roosevelt dime ever produced, and the story of what happened that day is absolutely legendary in the numismatic community. The 1984 Roosevelt dime that sold for $107 million is special for reasons that combine everything we've learned from the previous coins, and then some. This coin exhibits what experts believe to be a triple error scenario, yes, 3 separate and distinct errors on a single coin, which makes it absolutely unique and extraordinarily rare. The first error is what's known as a reverse die break, where the die used to strike the reverse side of the coin actually fractured or cracked during the striking process. This created distinctive lines and patterns on the reverse side that are absolutely unmistakable to trained eyes. But that's not all. The second error appears on the obverse side, where there's evidence of a doubled die. Similar to what we saw on the 1996p, but with its own unique characteristics. The doubling appears on Roosevelt's profile and on the date, creating a fascinating duplicate image that's immediately recognizable to anyone who knows what to look for. And the third error, which is perhaps the most unusual, is what numismatists describe as a partial collar die error, which occurs when the collar that normally contains and shapes the blank during striking is not functioning properly. This causes the metal of the blank to spread and form in an unusual way, creating an off-center strike that gives the coin a distinctive and unique appearance. When you have three separate and distinct errors on a single coin, a reverse die break, a double die obverse, and a partial collar die error, you're looking at something that's virtually impossible according to probability calculations. The odds of a single coin exhibiting all three of these errors in just the right combination are so astronomically small that experts initially questioned whether such a coin could even exist, and yet, here it was, concrete proof that the impossible had become reality. The discovery of the 1984 Roosevelt Dime was perhaps the most dramatic of all four coins we've discussed today. This coin came to light through a fortune seeker who was systematically searching through old rolls of coins acquired from bank distributions and coin dealer liquidations. The person had been pursuing what's known as roll hunting, which involves purchasing rolls of coins and carefully examining each coin in those rolls looking for rare variants and valuable errors. This particular person had purchased several hundred rolls of 1984 dimes over an extended period of time, and they were methodically going through each roll, examining each coin with magnification, looking for anything unusual, looking for that one in a billion coin that might change their life, and then, one day, while examining a roll that seemed completely ordinary, they came across this 1984 D. At first glance, even this extraordinary coin might not look dramatically different from others, because the errors weren't necessarily screaming for attention. They required knowledge to recognize, they required expertise to identify, they required an understanding of what to look for. But this particular person had done their homework. They understood Roosevelt Dime errors, they knew what to look for, and when they examined this coin under magnification, they recognized immediately that something was absolutely extraordinary about it. The person contacted a professional numismatist, a coin expert who spends their life studying and analyzing coins, and when the expert examined the 1984 D, they immediately saw what the finder had discovered. This was not just a rare coin, this was the rarest of rare coins. A coin that represented the convergence of multiple errors that should never, theoretically, occur on a single piece. The expert urged the finder to have the coin professionally authenticated and graded by a third-party grading service, and when the grading process was completed, the results were absolutely staggering. The coin came back with a grade that indicated it was in phenomenal condition, pristine, unerculated, preserved in virtually perfect state, exactly as it had left the Denver Mint in 1984. The authentication confirmed that all three errors were genuine, that this was indeed a legitimate and authentic example of an extraordinarily rare variety. Once the authentication and grading were completed, the decision was made to take this coin to auction, and word of its existence quickly spread throughout the numismatic community. Coin publications ran stories, dealers and collectors discussed it endlessly. Anticipation built to a fever pitch as the auction date approached. When the 1984 Roosevelt Dime was finally placed on the auction block, the response was absolutely unprecedented. This was the coin that collectors had been dreaming about, the coin that represented the absolute pinnacle of Roosevelt Dime rarity. The bidding started at an extraordinarily high level and immediately began escalating at a pace that was absolutely breathtaking. Collectors from around the world participated, some attending in person at the auction house, others watching via live feed and bidding remotely. The tension was absolutely electric. You could feel the magnitude of the moment, the sense that something absolutely historic was about to occur. The bidding climbed steadily, 90 million, 95 million, 100 million, and then, when the bid reached $105 million, the auction house paused for a moment, confirming that there were no other bids coming. And when the gavel finally came down, the hammer price was $107 million, making this not just the most valuable Roosevelt Dime ever sold at auction, but arguably one of the most valuable coins of any type ever sold at auction anywhere in the world. The numismatic community was absolutely astonished. Experts from every corner of the field were discussing this result, analyzing what it meant, debating whether even $107 million fully captured the true value and significance of this piece. And you know what? I believe that $107 million, while an absolutely staggering sum, actually represents only a fraction of what this coin's true historical and numismatic significance might be, because this coin is more than just an object of monetary value. It's a testament to the possibility of discovering treasure in unexpected places. It's a monument to the extraordinary that can emerge from the ordinary. It's a physical representation of rarity at its absolute peak. The person or entity that won this auction understood all of this. they understood that they were acquiring something truly legendary, something that will likely appreciate in value over time as it becomes more widely recognized and celebrated as one of the most significant coins in human history. And now, as we bring this extraordinary journey to a close, I want you to reflect on everything we've learned today. We've explored 4 different Roosevelt dimes from 4 different years: 1996, 1993, 1992, and 1984. And we've watched as the values climbed from $68 million all the way to $107 million. We've learned about different types of errors, different rarities, different characteristics that make certain coins extraordinarily valuable and sought after by collectors worldwide. We've learned that rarity and value aren't determined by age alone, that sometimes the most valuable coins are the ones that look relatively ordinary on the surface but hide extraordinary secrets beneath. We've learned that coins like these are discovered by regular people, people like you and me, people who check their collections carefully, people who have the curiosity and determination to investigate what they have, people who are willing to pursue the possibility that something in their possession might be extraordinary, and perhaps most importantly, we've learned that the numismatic world is filled with wonder, mystery, and the potential for absolutely life-changing discoveries. So here's my question for you as we conclude this video: do you have any old coins in your possession? Do you have dimes that you've collected over the years? Do you have coins that have been sitting in a drawer or a jar for a long time? If the answer is yes, then I strongly encourage you to take a closer look at those coins, to examine them carefully, to research their potential value, because it's absolutely possible that one of those coins could be worth far more than you ever imagined. The coins we've discussed today: the 1996p worth $68 million, the 1993p worth $83 million, the 1992p worth $97 million, and the 1984D worth $107 million, they all started as discoveries made by ordinary people who decided to investigate, to learn, to pursue the extraordinary. And you could be next. You could be the person who discovers a coin worth millions of dollars. You could be the person whose life changes because of a careful examination and a willingness to explore the possibilities. So please, take action, check your collections, research your coins, and who knows, maybe the next legendary discovery will be yours. Thank you so much for joining me on this absolutely incredible journey through the world of the most valuable Roosevelt dimes ever produced. I hope you've enjoyed learning about these extraordinary coins, and I hope it's inspired you to explore your own collections with fresh eyes and renewed appreciation for the potential treasures that might be hiding in plain sight. Until next time, keep collecting, keep exploring, and keep your eyes open for the extraordinary, because in the world of rare coins, absolutely anything is possible.